All right, so you wanted to really dig into this Diabetes Unplugged episode, huh? So, you've got diabetes, now what? I mean, that title alone probably has a lot of people saying, yeah, now what?
It's like, where do you even begin?
Right.
Especially with a new diagnosis.
Exactly.
And I think Sarah and Jake, the hosts, they do a really good job kind of laying out the groundwork, explaining those different types of diabetes right off the bat.
Yeah, no sugarcoating there. We're talking type 1, type 2, and they're like totally different ball games.
Right from the get-go.
One thing that really struck me was when they said type 1 diabetes, it's not always a childhood thing.
Yeah, that's a big misconception. And it's important to clear that up because, yeah, it's often diagnosed in younger people, but it can actually develop later in life.
Wow.
Can you imagine, like, being told your immune system is attacking your insulin-producing cells later in life?
Mm-hmm.
It just shows how much we still don't fully understand about what triggers this whole autoimmune response.
It's wild, right? Like your body just wakes up one day and decides to become its own worst enemy.
It's true.
And, those symptoms they talked about, going to the bathroom all the time, constantly thirsty, feeling exhausted, those are things people might just brush off. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why you really can't stress enough how important it is to not just, like, self-diagnose.
Oh, yeah. Put down WebMD.
Exactly. Those symptoms, yeah, they're common, but they can also be signs of a whole bunch of other things.
Right.
So bottom line is, if you're experiencing that stuff and it's not going away, get yourself to a doctor.
Yeah, seriously. Better safe than sorry. Now, type 2 diabetes, that's the one we're hearing about more and more these days.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. And it's still often linked to, lifestyle factors, diet, and how much you're moving. But the thing is, we're seeing it in younger and younger people,
Yeah.
which is really concerning.
That's a whole other can of worms we probably don't even have time for today. So with type 2, your body isn't using insulin effectively. Is that right? Like the insulin's there, but it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Imagine insulin is like a key, right?
Yeah.
It unlocks your cells to let the glucose, the sugar, in for energy.
Okay.
But with type 2 diabetes, those cells, they become resistant to insulin. So the key doesn't work as well, and the glucose just builds up in your bloodstream.
Uh-oh.
And that can lead to a whole bunch of health problems if you don't get it under control.
And that's where that whole prediabetes thing comes in, right? Like it's the warning sign before you officially cross over into type 2 territory.
Yeah, you got it. It's like a yellow light flash. You're not quite at a diagnosis yet, but your blood sugar is higher than it should be.
Gotcha.
The good news is, at that point, a lot of times you can turn things around with some lifestyle changes.
So if you're in that pre-diabetic zone, you can hit the brakes and maybe even reverse it.
Exactly. They really emphasized that even small changes can make a huge difference.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, losing even a little bit of weight, like even 5–10%, can have a big impact. And then, simple things like choosing water over soda
Okay.
and just finding ways to be more active. You don't have to become a marathon runner overnight.
Right.
Just little things here and there.
I think a lot of people tune out when they hear lifestyle changes.
Right.
It just feels so daunting, like you're giving up everything.
Okay, for sure.
But in the episode, they talked about it differently. It wasn't about being restrictive or depriving yourself. It was more about
Finding a sustainable way of living, yeah.
exactly, just making healthier choices that you can actually stick with long term.
It's about progress, not perfection.
I like that. It's like they were saying, it's a journey, right? And it's about finding what works for you. But speaking of finding what works, they kind of got into the nitty-gritty of managing diabetes, like the medical stuff.
Right, because as much as lifestyle is important, medication often comes into play, especially for type 1.
Yeah, for sure. They were very clear about that. Type 1 insulin therapy is non-negotiable, but it's not your grandma's insulin anymore. Like,
Right.
it seems like there's been so much cool stuff happening with insulin delivery and all that.
Oh, absolutely. Remember those days of, like, the big clunky pumps and constantly pricking your finger?
Oh, yeah.
Now you've got these sleek insulin pumps, continuous glucose monitors, CGMs.
That's right, the CGMs.
They even talked about smart pens that keep track of your insulin doses. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, that's next level. It's like having a personal assistant for your diabetes.
It is.
That's so cool. It just makes it seem so much more manageable.
It does. And the best part is, all that data you get from those CGMs, it's not just random numbers, right?
Right.
You can actually use it to make decisions about your health. Like, oh, that thing I ate totally spiked my blood sugar. Maybe I'll adjust my next meal.
So interesting. It's like having this insight into your body that you never had before.
Exactly. Like a window into what's going on in real time.
That's wild. Okay, so what about medications for type 2? Because I know they mentioned some other options, not just insulin.
Yeah, they did. So for type 2, they talked about medications like metformin. That one helps your body use the insulin it's making more effectively. But I think what was really fascinating was those newer medications they discussed. They brought up GLP-1 receptor agonists.
Yes, those were so
I
interesting.
know, right?
It sounded like groundbreaking stuff.
Think about it. They not only help regulate blood sugar, but they can also help with weight loss.
It's like a 2-for-1 deal.
I know, right? Addressing those two
Yeah,
major aspects of type 2 at the same time.
that's huge.
Yeah. And then there's the SGLT2 inhibitors, and those guys, they help your kidneys remove excess glucose through your urine.
Okay.
But here's the really cool part. They've actually been shown to have cardiovascular benefits too,
Oh.
which is super important because people with diabetes are at a higher risk for heart disease.
But for sure. So it's like a whole body approach. It's not just focusing on one thing.
Exactly. It's about looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were stressing, that importance of really working with your doctor,
Yeah, doctor. Yeah.
to find what's best for you.
Because everybody is different. What works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly.
Okay, so even with all these amazing advancements in medication and technology and all that, they didn't discount, like, the good old-fashioned blood sugar monitoring, right?
No, not at all. They were still like, look, whether you're doing the finger prick or you're rocking a CGM,
Right.
knowing your numbers is key.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how your body responds to everything. Food, activity, stress. They even touched on sleep a little bit.
Yeah. You know, the sleep thing and stress, I feel like we don't talk about that enough.
Oh, I know, right?
Like how those things all tie into blood sugar.
It's all connected.
It's crazy.
It is. But you know what? Maybe we should switch gears for a minute and talk about the human side of this, because we've talked about the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
But living with diabetes is about so much more than just that.
It's easy to get caught up in all the technical stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But living with diabetes, it's about so much more than just, what the meter says.
Right. It's about the whole person, the emotional side of it. And I think Sarah and Jake really hit the nail on the head when they talked about the mental and emotional impact of a diabetes diagnosis.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's okay to feel overwhelmed, even scared.
Right.
And they really stressed finding that support system.
Because, I mean, you get this diagnosis and it's like information overload, right?
Totally.
It's a lot to process.
You've got all these changes you have to make, and it can feel very isolating, but they made it clear, like, you don't have to go through it alone.
Exactly. And having those people you can talk to who get it,
Yeah.
whether it's your family, friends, a support group, therapist, whatever, just having that space to be like, this is hard.
Yeah, just to vent,
Uh-huh.
or to share your experiences.
Yeah.
Because when you realize you're not alone, it makes a world of difference.
For sure. There's just something so powerful about connecting with people who just get it.
It's true. And, even online now, they talked about the online diabetes community,
Oh, yeah.
like all those forums and social media groups, people sharing their stories, giving each other advice, even celebrating their victories together.
It's like having a cheering section in your pocket.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Okay, so we talked about emotional support, but they also really emphasize, like, being open with your healthcare team.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
They were very clear about that.
Like, it's not just about them telling you what to do.
Right. It's two-way street.
You're part of this team.
Exactly.
You know your body better than anyone.
You're the expert on you.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to ask questions, to speak up if something doesn't feel right.
Advocate for yourself.
Yes. The more open you are with your doctor, the better they can tailor your treatment plan to actually fit your life.
It's like a partnership.
It should be.
I love that. Okay, so before we wrap things up, we were talking about the whole stress, sleep, blood sugar connection. They kind of just touched on it briefly in the episode, but I feel like we could unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. It's an important piece of the puzzle that often gets overlooked,
Totally.
Like, think about it. You're stressed out, your cortisol levels are through the roof, and your blood sugar's like, woohoo, let's party.
It's like a roller coaster.
It's like your body is working against you.
So then what do you even do about it?
Well, they didn't get into specific techniques or anything, but they did say, finding healthy ways to manage stress is key.
Which, easier said than done for some people, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
But whether it's exercise or meditation, spending time in nature, whatever works for you, it can make a huge difference.
And sleep too, right?
Oh, yeah.
They mention how not getting enough sleep can mess with your blood sugar.
Big time. When you're sleep deprived, your body can become more resistant to insulin. Plus, it throws those hunger hormones out of whack, so you're craving all the sugary stuff.
Oh,
It's like a
no.
recipe for disaster.
It's a blood sugar nightmare.
Mm.
So making sleep a priority, having a consistent sleep schedule, actually winding down at night, that's not just about waking up feeling refreshed. It's actually good for your diabetes management.
It all ties together. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this.
Yeah,
Managing diabetes, it's not just about meds and checking your blood sugar.
right.
It's about looking at your health holistically.
It's about your whole life.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive has been amazing. We talked about so much different types of diabetes, the emotional side of it, new treatments, support systems, even stress and sleep.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did.
But I think at the end of the day, the main thing to remember is that a diabetes diagnosis, it's not a life sentence.
No, not at all.
It's a chance to take control of your health.
Exactly. It's like a wake-up call, maybe.
Yeah, to become your own advocate,
Mm.
to really prioritize your well-being.
I love that. So to our listener who requested this deep dive, we hope you're feeling a little more informed, empowered. And remember, you are not alone in this. There are so many resources out there, a whole community ready to support you. If this got you thinking, keep learning, keep asking questions. Knowledge is power, right? And the more you know, the better equipped you are to live your best life.
Couldn't have said better myself.